Hello again, this is Reg from Microgrinder with the latest in my new Shadow series where I review videos that have been submitted to me by people from various poker communities like Reddit, Microgrinder, Poker Market. Today's video has been submitted by a Microgrinder player, one of my current students, Pat, and it's a 50NL full ring video on Bovada. Again, there's a little bit of overlap. I don't expect it to be a big issue. So let's just get stuck straight into it and hope there's some interesting spots. Straight away on table 2, we'll label them 1, 2, 3 and 4 as usual tables. We have a 3-bet situation against a 77-13. Oh, sorry, 13-6. Sorry, 77 of the hands. With the ace king. I think it's a mandatory 3-bet. I'm not thrilled with the 6 part of his statistics because it's obviously really tight. So re-raising with ace king against a really tight player isn't something we're super thrilled to do, but what else can we do? We can't really appeal there. He can absolutely call with worse hands and hands that we're doing fine against equity wise with being in position. I think maybe if we were out of position there, I could see some merit in maybe not 3-betting, but the fact we have position, I think it's fine. Table 1, I'm hoping we're going to isolate with the ace pair of clubs over somebody who was just posted. And there's extra dead money in the blinds. Well, there's extra dead money in the pot. We were posting and limping when we didn't go for it. So we'll just pause and discuss this for a minute. When there's extra money, I mean, all of a sudden now there's 175. There's 3.5 blinds out there. Yeah, fair enough, this guy's limped. But this guy's just posted. So he's got any 2, he's got any 2, he's got any 2. And then we've got a 35/3 who isn't going to be particularly good at poker limping in. I'm surprised Pat hasn't isolated that there because Pat typically doesn't really lack for aggression. So maybe he's just been in his best behaviour because he knows he's making a video. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think I would definitely go for the isolation raise. I think we have profit just in the raise itself. I think we're going to win enough pre-flop enough of the time, and then post-flop with our positional advantage, with our skill advantage, we're almost certainly going to have on players who post and limp. And possibly with a little bit of card advantage. I think we're turning down a really profitable situation there. And yeah, just if we are in these spots where people do be looking to go for the slightly wider isolation raises, because that's the really low hanging fruit that's a lot of fun picking. Moving to full ring on Bovada is something that 3 of my current students from America have successfully done recently. I think for some players on Bovada who are struggling, and I know quite a lot of people like, I mean, even though it's just really tough site, I think the way the site's set up with the anonymous play and with Zone being particularly popular, I think it's set up to really not be to the advantage of regulars. I think Bovada, I think it's a smart move by the site. They don't want regulars just taking too much of the rec players' money before the site gets to claim their fair share of rake. But I'm not sure Bovada's Zone is that profitable a game. I think there's too much guesswork involved. So if you are struggling on Bovada and Zone, I think you might have beaten these bad players. Do consider playing either just the regular tables of 6-backs or full ring, because at least then you can use your hold'em indicator. If you don't have hold'em indicator, because it is a particularly expensive piece of software for what it is, you can at least then still start to develop reads on the players whilst they're at the table with you and start tagging players that are limping into pots and things like that, which you just can't do on Zone, because even if you do want to tag a player, It only lasts for that hand. At least it lasts for the session. When you're playing regular tables, I think Zone is probably full of quite a lot of bad players, but I think the levels of guesswork that's needed to play the game, I think there's probably going to be a lot more profit in playing regular tables and maybe having slightly aggressive bankroll management in the micro stakes because they are that soft. I think we can maybe get away with moving up pretty aggressively. Say you're playing 5 and L and you have $150. That's not much for a shot at 10 and L, but we don't really need 30 buy-ins for 5 and L at regular tables. So I think we can maybe consider, and I like this double barrel from Pat here. I think we have way too much equity to do anything but double barrel there. Yeah, to go back to finish my point. Yeah, I think if we have $150, we can take a shot at 10 and L, and if we lose $30 or $40, we're still going to have 21, 22 buy-ins for 5 and L, which is more than enough, I believe, at this, on a site like Nevada. Usually for Americans, you're quite a wealthy country. It's probably not going to be too hard for you to reload if you do want to put an extra $30 or $40 on. If you moved out of 5 and L and lose a little bit more, it's not going to be too hard to reload from. So yeah, my advice to Bovada players is play regular tables and move up aggressively rather than trying to just crunch volume with Zone. I think you're going to find it a lot more fun, a lot more enjoyable, certainly a lot more profitable. And I think you'll also make quicker progress this way too. If you look at my last video when I think it was a 2 and L Poker Stars video where every table we were looking at, it was really hard to find any recreational players. This is a 50 and L video now, and let's just have a quick look. 25-25, probably some kind of regular. 44-20. I mean, he might not end up being that stats, but it's a good place to have at your table. What have we got here? That table probably isn't that great. Let's have a look at the next table. But at least we are finding some loose players, some people who we don't know yet, who may or may not be good. People buying in and posting here, and they're buying in for like the minimum. Another guy who's got, we don't know much about him yet, but he's not buying in full. His games are, these games are certainly better. We'll do a quick look at each table just so we can extend the point I made last week about how it's important to be in good games. So let's look at table 4 here. We're a 32/5. We have a 38-0. We have a 38-15. We have a 37-15. 33, is that a 33-6 and a 41-16? I mean, this is 50 and L on Bovada, and the games will unquestionably be a hell of a lot softer than 2 and L Zoom on PokerStars. Just consider that for a moment. Consider the gravity of that statement that 50 and L on one site is going to be a lot softer than 2 and L on another. And again, just think to yourself, why on earth am I? If you have options to play in other places other than PokerStars, why on earth are you playing the micros there when there are way better options? I'm not going to turn this video into another anti-PokerStars sort of rant because I did that enough in the last video, but because these games are so good, I think it's just nice to just touch on it and follow on from a comment on the last session. Game selection, guys, do not overlook it, especially if you're struggling. I think it's a good fold to choose there. I think we can peel in later position, but I think we're just a bit too early to start peeling 4x opens. There's just too much chance we're going to get squeezed. We're not. His range is pretty strong, so we're going to have to check fold most of the time. So yeah, in the cutoff or button, I may have peeled there, but from middle bit, well under the gun +1 versus under the gun, I think it's a Pretty good fold. Just a little word while we do have a quiet spot in the video. If you've got this far, I hope you're enjoying the video. Hope you're enjoying what you're hearing. And just like to put a reminder that I am a microstates coach. I do have quite a robust number of people I'm coaching at the moment. I'm currently working with upwards of 20 players of a thriving Skype group. It really is. It's a lot of fun at the minute. There's a lot of people making lots of good progress. So you are considering getting coaching, but you're just not quite sure if it's good value, please just drop me a message. We can have a chat. I can introduce you to some members of the group. You can get a better feel for it. My rates are $20 per hour if you play 5NL or lower, $25 an hour for 10NL, 16NL, those kind of things, and $30 an hour if you're playing 25NL or higher. I believe those rates are as cheap as anywhere you'll find, and I do believe that my methods work really well, and I've had a lot of success with players just like you. So yeah, if you're thinking about it, just give it a whirl. You don't have that much to lose, but you have a lot to gain. So back to the video. I'm liking the isolation raise with the ace-10 against somebody we expect probably loose, kind of, well, not too loose passing because they've got a PFR of 18, but they're pretty loose with their overall VPIP. So I'm presuming there that someone, when you see people like 4120s and what have you, the limping range really is weak because the 20% raising range has enough garbage in it as it is. So when the limping ranges typically are really, really weak, and we can get after them a lot because these type of players are going to make lots of big mistakes post flop because they've got a little bit of aggression in them too. So they're going to try and outplay you in ways that be turning poor hands into bluffs, and yeah, they just make lots and lots of mistakes. It's a little bit more high variance because they do sometimes bite back. But, yeah, certainly we should be definitely getting after those players with some quite loose isolations when they limp. And we could possibly also start to consider making some light 3-bets against them when we're in position, just to make sure that we get them isolated. I hope we squeeze here with Jack-9 suited. No, we didn't again. That's another. Let's just talk about this again. It's another situation where we've had 3 people just limp into pots. We've had a 29-0, a 14, a 93-14. I mean, wow, that's some really low-hanging fruit there, Pat. I would be wanting to play every single playable hand possibly against somebody who has a 93% VPIP. I think we're really missing a trick with some isolation opportunities here. That's the second time we've missed an isolation opportunity, and this one is a big opportunity because it looks like we have 2 or 3 really bad players with us. And sure, the limp calling range is going to be probably doing okay against Jack-9 suited. But the fact that we're going to outplay them all the time post flop, either by making some good folds against them or being able to value bet them really, really well when we make just even one pair, I would imagine. Yeah, really, Pat, think about when we've got these good players at the tables with us. It's not good enough just to have them there. We also need to be playing with them too. We need to be making sure that we are the people who can have the best opportunity to stack them. We want to be the one playing the most pots with them, especially when we're in position. So yeah, that's definitely something you can work on. I don't think we'll miss this isolation. Again, look at all the dead money in these pots. Provide a full ring. Don't particularly want the secret to get out there for my guys, but this video is going to blow it away a little bit for anyone who does watch this series in America, because Bovada full ring, really, to me, it looks like a very, very, very profitable place to play poker. And if I wasn't based in the UK and I could play on Bovada, I would pretty much put matchsticks in my eyes and play these games 24/7, because they really are an absolute goldmine. think I would open king queen suited, king queen off normally in tight full ring games. I think we can make an argument for folding it under the gun. But in games like this, I think it's an absolute mandatory slam dunk open. If you're a full ring player on PokerStars watching this, I don't think opening king queen off under the gun is going to show too much profit for you. I think if you're playing on Bovada 888, maybe party poker, and you're in soft games with bad players at your tables, I think king queen off definitely a very profitable open. And look, now we have a good opportunity to exactly the sort of thing I was saying here. Now we can just put a nice big chunky squeeze in, because I don't expect seat 6 to fold here. 48 whatever he is, 42 19s. They're not in the business of folding pre-flop to 3 bets. Look at this time. I would just jam here. I mean, I think this size is fine, because that would never, it's not like we're never going to fold. Well, we just jammed. We had close to a pot, just over a pot size bet left. I think if the guy's going to be putting more money in for $9 or $10, he's just going to go for the lot. And yeah, we're just taking it. I don't think there's nothing at all wrong with the 9, by the way. I have no issue with the 9. I would just personally prefer to shove it. We maybe sometimes rep a bit of ace king as well that way as well to an unsophisticated player. So Pat, just to leave a message to Pat, because I know he will be watching this. I'm having seen no issues with your game at the moment in terms of post-flop, but pre-flop. I think we just do need to talk, and we will talk about it. We need to talk about definitely opening up in isolation spots, because you can just see how Lucy's games are, and I mean, know that you've seen it for yourself too. And I'm only making this point to you now because it looks like we may be hitting a bit of a lull in the cards that we're getting, and I don't like too much dead air in the videos. But yeah, and that goes out to everybody. If you are fortunate enough to play in games where there are multiple limpers, do not be scared to pull the trigger pre-flopping and then really squeeze these limpers up. These games are almost like we've gone back to 2005, where it was just really profitable to just 6, 7, 8x versus 2 or 3 limpers and just print money post flop. I think these games haven't. I mean, it's almost like we're in a little time warp just in Bovada full ring. It's like the game that time forgot. It's beautiful. And I think we can definitely use some very old school tactics in them and just print money. I wouldn't have called the 2 7s there, I don't think. I just don't think we have enough chance of getting to showdown. We're playing against a 13-7. He's pretty nitty. This isn't the sort of player I particularly want to be tangling in these games. We don't need to be getting involved with a 13-7 and making something like peels on flops when there's just so many better spots and softer spots at the table. I think the set mind's fine. But I think once he c-bets Queen XX dry, it's just not as if we can call him down over there. And I suppose there's some chance, excuse me for yawning there, I suppose there's some chance that he could just have a hand like Ace Jack or Ace King and then shut it down. But I think it's just way more likely he's going to have the Queen, Pocket Kings, Pocket Ace. He just hands out of a beat basically. I think that's way more likely than he's going to c-bet and give up with all the cards. So yeah, I think I would just have folded there, Pat. I think we're fine playing no set, no bet against nits in spots like that. And that was a really unfortunate stuck out there. Let's rewind back and see exactly what happened there, because I missed him. I'm presuming we just flopped really well and then bad things started happening to us. Just rewind it back slightly. Yes, so we check the big blind. Yep, fine with the leader now. I think I'm going to be absolutely fine with all of this. What did Pat do? I think I would just maybe shove at this point though. I mean, I obviously have no issue with the 20. I have no issue with it at all. But yeah, I think I would just rather shove because people shouldn't peel. But it's our hand really with bottom two pair. It's really, especially on a board that coordinate, it's really, really, really vulnerable. And there's already however much money in the pot. 2, 3, 50, 60, 10. There's already maybe $11 in the pot. We've got a really vulnerable hand, and if we shove against bad players, we can get called by all kind. I mean, as we actually find out, I mean, C7's got aces. We can get called by all sorts of worse hands. And I mean, I just imagine if we just make it 20 here and then somehow one or both players call. I mean, there's just so many really, really bad turns for us. Any diamond, any king, jack, ace, 10, maybe an 8. They're just, I'd say over half the deck's really terrible for us. So yeah, I mean, we get all the money anyway, so it makes no difference. But I would just have jammed the thing just to stop people peeling and then letting people realise they're equity for a little bit cheaper. Because if they're calling 20, they're probably going to call all in. They're probably not good enough to fold to an all in if they call it for 20. And when this guy raises here, I mean, I'm not sure if he folds or not. I would be surprised if he does. I can't remember. But we'll see. Yeah, he did fall, so he's probably just had some kind of bluff. But yeah, I mean, I'm not. That's really nitpicking with the we should raise all in there. Because I don't want to rub salt in Pat's wound. Because that is just a pretty gross suck out. Well, not a gross suck out. I mean, the guy had decent egg. And that kind of shows just how vulnerable bottom two is there. That the other guy, he probably had a clean, how many outs? Let's just count his outs up. He had 2 aces. I mean, he probably had a good 7 or 8 outs there against us, at least. And that's not counting the chances that he runs out, he runs out in like another paired board run out type situation. So yeah, I'm not really happy with my end explanation there. I've got a little bit lost, but yeah, basically just shove. If you think you're going to get called by worse hands and your hand's vulnerable, just ship it all in. And don't worry too much about it. Of course, against good players, that doesn't work as well. But we're not talking about good players here. We're talking about bravado. We're talking about bad players. So yeah, we can absolutely just go for the massive overbets for value and expect to get good action. So we got a little bit of one back for the good guys there. I mean, I guess against that guy's stack size, it's a pretty mandatory just 3-bet, get it in. I mean, he was 11-11 over a small sample, so he may have been a little bit tighter, but even so. What was it? Was it 24 blinds, something like that? Ace Queen. Yeah, we're not stoked with the situation, but I think it's absolutely fine. We should be definitely isolating here with the King Jack, hopefully. Yes, we do. It's good to see. I would definitely see bet this. Well, now he's donked. It changes things. So let's think about the situation here a little bit, because it's not very often we've had a chance to discuss donk bets. But this is a guy who's played 88-21. He's not good at poker. So typically, people disrespect donk bets. They typically go after them, they fold them. They raise versus them because you think, well, what can the guy call with? Or they make some loose floats looking to pick the pot up on later streets. Against a guy like this 88-21, none of that counts, because if he does have any kind of real hand, if he has a 3, if he has an 8, he is not folding. So turning King Jack into a bluff here would be a huge mistake against this type of player. And I hope Pat just folds, sorry. I can see maybe a slight argument for wanting to peel, because hoping that we can hit. If we peeled and we hit a king, sorry, a jack, I'd be quite happy to call this guy down. So I can see a slight argument for calling because we got some backdoor equity too, but I think it's probably just to fold and move on. We're going to have plenty of opportunities against this guy. We don't need to be getting too involved in super thin spots like this. Yeah, Pat just does fold, so good stuff. I paused the video there just because I know there is quite a common line of raising bad players donk bets, and that works a lot against some, moderately bad players. Don't think it works too well against the absolutely huge bad players like this guy was. I don't like to use words like whale or something like that. I think it's quite disrespectful. But yeah, against a player as bad as him, who would typically be classed as like a whale, a huge fish, call him what you will. I think going for bluff raises to his donk bets is going to just end up costing you money. It's going to cause you a lot of frustration. Excuse me. I think, as you can see in this session so far, we've been playing for 36 minutes, and I don't recall anyone putting any pressure on us yet, apart from the one time the guy had aces when we had the bottom two. Yeah, regular tables on Bovada. If you are currently playing zone and you're getting frustrated, you feel like you're banging your head against the wall, just give the regular tables a try. Six max or fully. Give the regular tables a try, and yeah, be a bit more aggressive with your bankroll management, because there's a lot of really loose money on Bovada right now, and who knows how long it's going to stay this way for. I think poker's starting to regain a little bit of popularity, and as it does, the games will start to get a little bit tougher. So right now, if you're in America and you're playing on Bovada, really do try and yeah, I mean, I just want to stack side. I wasn't a fan of the click it back, but yeah, give me stack side. I have no choice. I didn't like it when we get min raised on the turn there. I think we're going to be beat a lot. I didn't like the click it back until I saw his stack size. Then I'm like, yeah, well, fine. We kind of have to just stack off there. Yeah, so yeah, if you are playing a Bovada right now and you're not working as hard as you could, you're not putting as many hours in as you could, I think now is the time to really do that, because I guess the guys back in 2008 thought these games were never going to go away, and we all know what happened on Black Friday. Who knows what the landscape looks like? But if you're in America and you can play in these games right now, you should be doing it for as many hours as possible. So right, this guy's just min three betters here with queens. I'm already nervous. I hope Pat doesn't shove here. Right, let's talk before we see his hand if we can. Yeah, well, we've seen it, but never mind. Yeah, I mean, the guy's 39-13. What does that tell us? It tells us he calls a lot. Somebody who calls a lot, all of a sudden putting them in three betting, usually means they're very close to the top of their range. They're very close to having a premium hand. I'm surprised he's as weak as ace king here. I expected to see aces or kings when we got called. I mean, yes, sometimes we can make him fold. If he's just there dicking around with some weird hand, but most of the time when we get a 39/13 min three betting us, I would have preferred just to call and then maybe get in on this kind of flop. Obviously, we're not going to say fold this kind of flop, but just be careful that we're not overplaying things like jacks and queens in these situations, because these guys, like I said, they've got a big gap in the VPFR. It's because they call too much. So when they're three betting, it means something. And yeah, although queens is a really strong hand against the top of his range, kings, aces, ace king, we had only just about a coin flip, and I think we can do so much better than just get it all in pre-flop with a coin flip with a 38-13, 39-13. Obviously, it can't be terrible. I'm not saying for a second it's terrible. I just think we can do better. Against a regular there, that will be super standard. Thought about get it in. I have no issue with it whatsoever. But I think 38-13s, 39-13s, those type of players. They don't have the same ranges as we do. They don't have the same ranges regulars do. When they're doing that, they've got it more often than not. Whereas regulars, they do have some plus in the range. They do stack off a little bit lighter sometimes. 38-13s. Is he doing that with 2-10s? Who knows? Maybe. Is he going to call when we jam though? Again, who knows? But I would have preferred to just see a call there, I think. So we've got how long is the video? We're getting very close to the video. Hopefully we find one more spot before then we can discuss. I've enjoyed it, Pat. Thank you very much for making the submission. It's been fun for me to watch how these games play, because we haven't really done that much work together lately. You've been a bit struggling with your volume. I've seen a lot of 25NL and 10NL full ring zone, and it's quite nice to see that 50NL games don't seem to be any softer, any harder, I mean. So, yeah, it's been an education for me. Hopefully it's been an education for American players watching, and hopefully it's been an education in general for microstakes players looking to improve in a cost-effective manner. I've certainly enjoyed it. I think we've not had a huge amount of points for discussion, but that's sometimes going to happen when we just quickly review a 45-minute session. But yeah, we're going to get to finish off at least with the hand here. And let's talk about betting versus checking here. Betting, what do we get value from? Well, plenty, obviously. We get value from Queen Jack, Queen 10. We get value from some draws, some straight draws, some gut shots, some flush draws. So yeah, we get plenty of value. Whenever bluffing a king out, so well, that's not the purpose of the bet, I guess. So yeah, I think it's fine to bet for value. Would checking be better? It's hard to know. We've only got 7 hands on somebody. We don't know too much about them. The problem is I have with the betting is if we get raised, we probably have to fold, which is a shame because we have a hand with a decent amount of showdown value. So I may just start by checking here because there's no really bad turn cards for us. So it doesn't really matter. I don't think we're giving too much up. If a diamond comes, we still got the redraw. If an ace comes up, it's good for us for a change. Normally when we have second pair, the ace coming isn't good for us. In this stage, it is good for us. So I think I would prefer a checking. I think we kind of have a 2-street hand anyway, so we're not going to lose any value. I think we can just check, and if he checks, we can just go bet turn river, and I think that's going to be fine. But yeah, I think I prefer checking. Pat goes for the bet. We get called. Now this is kind of the problem. Now, do we now continue betting the turn? Because it kind of improved our equity slightly. We went in a gut shot, but the jack also hits a lot of his range. It hits Queen Jack. It hits Ace Jack. Sorry, it's King Jack and Queen Jack. Sorry, not Ace Jack. It also hits a lot of his gut shots. Hits a lot of his straight draws. So also now we're in a slightly uncomfortable position where the pot's starting to get just a wee bit too big. If too much more money goes in, I don't think we can bet this turn. But do we really want to check call if you bet 7? This is the kind of the problem we give ourselves when we make these thinnish C bets for value on flops when we've still got 2 more streets to consider. And yeah, I think this is why I would have preferred to check the flop. But let's see what Pat does. I think I would probably check call this turn and then check fold the river, I kind of want to say. I think betting will be too thin here. Yeah, I think that's too thin, Pat. I mean, it's worked. We've got him to fold. But yeah, I think that is just a little bit too thin. Oh, nice hand to end the video on. Nice little bit of discussion at the end. I would be interested in getting your feedback on that, Pat, and other people's feedback on that if you've made it this far in the video. Thin starts pre-flop and then it goes on to flops and things. And if we're making thin flop C bets for value out of position, I think we're kind of setting ourselves up for some quite tough spots later in hand. I think that's definitely a good spot to have a check call there, because we have our equity is pretty robust. If we're ahead, we're likely going to stay ahead most of the time. So yeah, in that situation in future, when you do flop, second player, good kicker, out of position, second player, top kicker, maybe consider developing some kind of check call range with that, because it's nice to have a check call range anyway. If we're always just check folding when we check, that's not too hard to start exploiting if anyone's any good. So yeah, I think it's nice to have a check call range, and I think that's a nice kind of hand to have in it. But for now, that is the end of the video. So thank you again to Pat. I hope everyone's enjoyed it, and yeah, there'll be another one coming along soon in the next 2 or 3 days. I've got 2 or 3 now to review, and I'm going to try and do one at least every 3 days, just because I enjoy it. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you all next time.